Good morning. Great day to you and welcome. Uh, the doc is here to talk to you a little bit more today about grants. The reason that I'm involved in that is that I have a number of organizations that I support through grant writing as a volunteer and also as an individual contributor. And I have some late breaking news for you that I believe will be useful to you as you go forward in your grant writing journey uh, for both the grant makers and the grant receivers. There have been some really incredible changes over the last week or so, and I'm working to assist in collecting the data and understanding where we're headed next. That to me is vitally important. So, again, I'm your host and facilitator, Dr. Awanda Bennett, and what I want to bring to you today are some trends, predictions, and information that you could do and use to prepare yourself for the next leg of the journey with your grant writing and grant making, grant giving, and grant growing experiences. Today, as we visit with each other, one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention are the obvious changes to government funding strategies surrounding anything concerning DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Those things are going to be changing. From what I gather, there is a pushback, there is a very concerted effort to eliminate any sort of DEI type of information, funding, or program. And if you're in that space right now, I believe that you may be encountering some headwinds. And my work today will be to unpack a few of the layers of things that we could expect to happen over the next couple of years or so as we are working in this space. Key thing to remember is that all things being equal, not everybody will be impacted. Some people will have a different method or way of working, and I just wanted to share that with you. And right now, we know grants are evolving at a record pace in terms of what's going on with governmental uncertainty, regulation changes, things of that nature. So, if you're a nonprofit leader, a teacher, any sort of community advocate, what you need to do is just prepare for what's next. One of the things that I've been examining, or at least in the research that I've been looking at, has been the state of grants amidst the governmental changes. There is a website you can use called findhelp.org. Findhelp.org has a number of different grants that are still viable that you can go in there and begin looking at what's available and what you can have access to. I went out there last night. I still found help for people that may need help with assistance if they have cancer, if they need transportation, if they need any sort of backing. I saw on that website on the findhelp.org that it had what I would call a collection of different grants that you can go and apply for. So for people needing grants, grant making agencies are going through that site, the findhelp.org. I want to start off with the big picture, the key thing that we need to remember. With the governmental uncertainty, whether it's related to policy changes or anything that we're doing where we're shifting priorities in terms of what's needing to be grant funded, and budget cuts. Budget cuts. It's been a recurring theme past few weeks and in recent years as well. In 2025, we're seeing this uncertainty affect both public and private or non-governmental agencies as well. So we've seen it in two different spaces. They each have their unique needs. If you're in the governmental space, that means you could do federal, state, or local, like your county even has granting available that they would open to us for business development, for economic development. And a good example would be DEI related funding. Anything about DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion, that will be facing significant scrutiny. So I believe they're going to eliminate it entirely. And in some cases, the budget reductions could be rather significant. This is due in part to changing political landscape. The key thing to remember here is that since the climate is changing and there's debates around funding these initiatives, then we need to look a different route in order to be able to get grant funding. The other thing is the federal grant programs. They're experiencing some delays, bit of reallocation, um, even cuts in some sectors, particularly in the educational sector, the healthcare, and the environmental initiatives. You will see cuts in those areas, is what I'm thinking. And meanwhile, our non governmental grant makers, these are companies, foundations, and external sort of people. Um, just as much private roundtable things, corporate funders. They're stepping in to fill the gap as best they can. But one of their things they're going to be looking at is measurable impact and sustainability focused initiatives. That's what their eyes will be tracking. That's what they'll be looking for. So, what does this mean? We're going to have to know that it's going to just become a little bit more competitive in the funding space. Recognize that in the funding space, it'll be a bit more competitive than it had been in the past. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about some other trends in that grant space that you need to be aware of. There's an increased focus on the measurable impact, the key performance indicators, the lives that have been changed. The funders, both the governmental and the non governmental, they're prioritizing projects and they really want to see meaningful impact. So if you can clearly demonstrate that your program has an impact, something as simple as reducing hunger, increasing graduation rates, any sort of thing around that, improving environmental sustainability, assisting entrepreneurs. Grant makers want to see data driven results. That's what's critical at this point. They need to see it in the data. That's clear. We have to make a business case and also show our work. The one question to me when I was thinking about this, I said it's always been that way, but now the emphasis will be greater in that group. So a tip for you, especially if you're in the grant writing space, as you're writing your grant proposals, you want to focus on metrics and you want to be specific about what success looks like. The greater specificity, the higher degree that you can get your grant approved and funded. The key thing is to measure it. The next part of this, another trend that I know we're going to see, is that it's going to be a shift towards collaborative funding models. So, what they'll want to do is see you in partnership with more groups and organizations. They want us to consolidate our capabilities. So, you will be partnering with a number of organizations and working in collaboration with them in order to get what you'd like to get accomplished. The key thing is finding groups that are like minded that will work alongside you. The key thing in these projects is that you're bringing together multiple organizations and different sectors so that you have a new group of stakeholders that may not have existed before. So you get all those stakeholders connected and in front and begin to collaborate with the grant applications. The next trend that you'll see is that technology integration and grant making will become greater. So your expectation there is that there'll be some proposal writing tools. There'll also be some proposal processing tools, ones that evaluate your plan. And you want to familiarize yourself with the online capabilities of these grant platforms. That's my tip for you, is to get the proposal writing software and also to line yourself up with people that are tech savvy so they can help take your grant to the next level. You're also going to see a move to CSR, which is corporate social responsibility. It's already existed in the past, but I believe there'll be a greater shift to this sort of grant funding. And what they're going to care about is that we are working in education, workforce development, and then also sustainability may be a key word that they'll be looking for inside of your proposals. The workforce development piece is vitally important. There'll be a shift And the reason I know that is because there's certain predictions that I've seen that are based on data, like the great need for project managers in the future, something to the tune of 30 million. And if we need 30 million project managers, then there needs to be a workforce development program in place that creates them. Right now, I'm working in something called PM Ready, is one of the Project Management Institute certifications that they're offering to high schoolers, in line like a trade program that you may have seen in the past, like for HVAC or for medical or for any of those other sorts of things that you've seen in the past where they had a trade you could learn in high school and then graduate with that and learn. One of the things I like about that particular thing is that the grant writing in that space, to me, is an exciting development because there is an opportunity to get funding for those sorts of initiatives. And that's what I'm looking to work on. And I'll keep you abreast of my capability and everything that's happening in that space to let you know how it's going because my intention is to do some grant writing in order to get those particular initiatives that I have in place funded. The last thing is that trust based philanthropy is growing. And what that means is that you'll have to have a relationship. Obviously, you know about grant applications, you've heard about that and the red tape surrounding that. But the key thing is to have a relationship with the person that's extending the grant. Building those strong relationships will be a fundamental part and a big tip in your work as you move forward. These predictions that I'm sharing with you will have great impact. And my hope is that um, that is a mild and a soft landing. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the predictions around the future of grants altogether. I know that it's going to become more competitive and there'll be fewer resources. The tip for you is to make a better mousetrap. What you want to do is prepare and differentiate yourself out there in the grant space. So as you're building your capabilities and everything surrounding the grant, what you want to do is make sure that you clearly articulated what value you're going to bring and what you're going to be doing. That's going to be a critical piece, the differentiation. Also, I feel like there could potentially be a rise in equity driven grant making. And what that looks like is whereas the DEI funding will probably dry up or be exhausted or eliminated, the key thing is that with those challenges being faced in the area, in the short term, it's very difficult. My belief is in the long term, there's going to be a group that will rise that will want to assist, and it'll be equity driven. Um, what you want to do is center equity in your work and show how your program is adding to that. What is something that your program is doing to make it more equitable in the future? They've been using the word merit based quite a bit and straying into an area where they're just going to eliminate all DEI language. In fact, the word inclusion, um, I was listening to a podcaster explain that the word inclusion was scraped from all websites for the government. However, sometimes the word inclusion was used to like include something with your tax return. So I thought that was funny that that was scraped from the website. Simply the word inclusion was eliminated and it caused a little bit of an issue. The next thing that they're going to be interested in, or I believe they're interested in right now, is scalable solutions. So let's say you come up with a solution for a problem and create a program and it works. You run your pilot and it's successful. So then the next thing is to make it scalable. And I was talking with one of my team leaders, great, phenomenal lady, and she was talking about this is what that's going to look like and making the business case to get the buy-in from your team and your stakeholders in order to move into that next level. And that's critical because without their buy in, the project will not continually grow, thrive, or scale. And I really appreciated her confidence in me and sharing that with me because that's going to be important coming forward. The biggest thing that you can do to prepare is to highlight the scalability of your program and help them understand how it would work if it were to scale. The next thing is technology is non-negotiable. It's going to be all over the place. So if you're a technophobe, get ready for some pain because you're going to have to get your technology up to snuff and ready for this next portion of your journey. Be sure to look at ways to partner with people that are tech heavy. That way you can focus on your actual program mission. That's something that you could consider. Um, Another thing is to invest in tools that will support you and assist you. I feel like the next set of grants, there'll be a focus on climate and sustainability. I believe that when we see these tragedies and these weather events, which I've been a part of them, specifically hurricanes, the wildfires have been on everyone's minds here lately. Tragic. But I do know in the future for grants, they're going to be wanting to look at ways they can help people in this way. So I have a few action steps for you that'll allow you to prepare for the future. Right now, what I've covered in the trends and the predictions and everything, I want to explain or at least share with you what you could do today to prepare. Number one is to strengthen your grant proposal skills. You need to do some reps, you need to work it out, you need to get strong in that area because if you can make a very compelling case in a very short amount of time for different issues, even those with high complexity, if you can make it understandable and attainable to somebody and get strong in that area, you're going to see great results. The next thing is to begin to diversify your funding sources. Before you may have relied on one, but now you may have to rely on multiple. I'm just letting you know that you can't just rely on a single source of funding. It's uh, it's going to be a way of life that you'll have multiple areas that you go to get the funding. You want to invest in data and technology. I believe that's going to be one of the future winning pieces that could be useful to you as you prepare grants and deliver on the promises. You want to build relationships with the funders. And the reason I say that is we're working with very human issues, we're working with very tangible things, we're working in different spaces, different demographics. To be able to engage the funder and have them and their team interested in what's going on with the program and how they can best help benefit. Don't forget, some people are like, I need a grant. No, you can ask for an in-kind grant. You can ask for the stuff you need. You don't need them, have them if they have stuff. You can ask them for stuff. You can write them a letter. I'm really good at letter grants. You can write them a letter and tell them what's going on, not to belabor their time, and then say, this is what I need. Would you be willing to give it to it? Would you be willing to provide us with it? Would you be willing to donate the stuff? That's critical. And I want to share a great video with you where I was just showing I have this 4,000 square foot facility and the stuff that the people funded me with. They actually gave me a lot of materials to be able to run a youth summer camp. So that's pretty cool. Build relationships with the funders. The last thing is to stay informed. I have a website, grantable.org. You can drop your email in there, and then I will send you slides, information, different details of what is available out there, that what's remaining, I should say, until everything is fully stabilized and open to us in a way that makes sense. So, for today's episode on navigating the grants and the governmental uncertainty, key thing to remember while the landscape is shifting, there's still plenty of opportunities out there. And I want you to go to findhelp.org. I went to that website. I was like, okay, this is good. This could be good for people. And when you stay informed, you're better ready in order to put your impact in the community in the way that you'd envisioned it. If you'd like to know more and have found this episode helpful to you, go on and share it with your colleagues and be sure to reach out with any comments, questions, concerns, contributions, any ideas you have about what I've said, especially with my predictions. I'd certainly love to have you tell me, hey, Dr. B, I'm not sure about all that, and share it with me. I would very much like to hear from you. Oh, I had some breaking news for you. I just need to share things with you right quick. I'm going to blow this up and walk you through it really quickly. Hopefully, you can see it. Um, the predictions that I made for the grant funders and the receivers, I was just talking about what that impact could potentially look like, what that would feel like. The key thing is that the funding priorities are shifting with the grant makers. I mentioned that before. If you'd like this deck, please write me, I'll get it to you. Also, there'll be reduced innovation and impact for grant makers. You can expect it to impact the areas of innovation. So if you're working on something new and super cool, just know that the grants could be reduced. The funding opportunities for grant receivers, I had mentioned that they're going to be curtailed. The reduction of this funding could impact programs that exist today. There'll be increased competition, as I mentioned, but there'll also be some challenges for the grant receivers. The innovation and workforce challenges, the grant receivers in those areas, they can expect some pain points to develop. The broader implications of economic disparities and social cohesion, there will be a social sort of reckoning in terms of what's happening with the grants. And lastly, you can expect some hiccups in public health and economic consequences. So, with all that said, keep yourself well read and reach out. Remember, you can do great things. Just be aware of those changes that are coming online and what they mean to you and how they could potentially impact you. Thank you so much.